Hey, happy Monday. I hope everybody had a great and fantastic holiday weekend. I'm working today. I am busy, but I'm listening to court and I got stuck on 13 Butler County, Kansas. Whatever. I think it's 13B maybe. Um Nothing major exciting, but I got a whiner, a super serious and a broken plea deal. So I figured I'll just keep working. You guys hang out with me. We'll watch some court, and maybe we'll talk about it if you jump in the chat. So anyway, without further ado, well, a little further ado. No more further ados. Let me make me super small. I gotta stop saying that. By the way, if you guys ever think about starting your own YouTube channel, I recommend it, but once you get on a roll, it's kind of addicting. Um, and you're gonna find yourself if you do a channel like mine, you're gonna find yourself watching court all day, every day. You're gonna watch body cams from like 500 different sources, and then you're gonna troll a little bit. It's still fun though. All right, here we go. Um, we're gonna start off in the top left corner of this Zoom call. And then there's going to be a break, but the break includes the guy with the broken plea deal, so it's linear. And then after that, I'm probably just going to let it roll if you guys want to hang out and watch Butler County. And then I got a couple comments on Judge Webster and Jay Regier here too. All right, here we go.
Two, State of Kansas versus Tara L. Maxwell. Jared Regier for the state, and the defendant Tara Maxwell appears in person and pro se. Because Ms. Maxwell, you failed to appear March 26, 2025, we will treat this as your first appearance on one count of operating a motor vehicle without registration or expired tag. This is an unclassified misdemeanor. It does carry penalties, the maximum of which could be a $2,500 fine and 30 days to 6 months in jail. But these are the extremes and not what we typically see, which are about a $50 fine and probation is what we might typically see, but that's not any guarantees. You might also be eligible for diversion, but let me see. It looks like you've got quite a few things popping up here from 2005. Traffic. Quite a few things going on in your record, but they look maybe more like limited or civil. You do have a prior traffic. I have no idea if the county attorney would consider you for diversion or not. Have you ever had a diversion?
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Is that something you're interested in? You'd have to pay a fine, court costs, a diversion fee, a diversion application fee to see if you qualify, or you could plead not guilty and we could set this for trial at a later date. You could plead guilty. We could proceed with sentencing. You could plead no contest, neither admitting nor denying, but you'd still be found guilty and we'd proceed with sentencing. Because there is the potential, remotely, but potentially, a 6-month jail sentence. You do have the right to a court-appointed attorney if you cannot afford to hire one and you qualify for one. So there's a lot of options there on the issue of attorney. Do you wish to have an attorney or waive an attorney?
Well, this is a lot of information all at one time. My husband thought he paid the registration for my car. And we have 4 cars because we have 2 older kids who drive.
Excuse me there. Today is not the trial. If you want a trial, I'll enter a not guilty plea and set your court trial for a later date.
I'm just trying to figure out, this sounds super, super serious. And it was
Well, it does.
initially a ticket for not having the right registration. And then I paid that and took care of it. And in my subconscious, I was just thinking, okay, we took care of it. And so I completely forgot to go to the court date or that I even had one.
All right, Miss Maxwell, what I'm going to do is enter a not guilty plea. You can always change that. I'm going to give you a trial date. It'll be a trial date to the court, and you'll need to be ready for trial.
What
But
happens if I don't want to go to trial?
I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
But after you've had time to decide if you want an attorney, decide if you want a trial, this will give you time to decide if you want the attorney, decide if you want a trial, and it'll give you time to look into the diversion if you want to. Diversion could keep it off your record, but it would cost you more.
I don't really care too much about it being on my record, honestly. I just want to take care of it today.
Well, if you take care of it today, you would be representing yourself. You'd be basically waiving your right to an attorney. And if you pled guilty or no contest today, you would proceed to sentencing. And I'm saying I can't guarantee you, but a lot of times it's a $50 fine, a 30-day sentence suspended where you don't serve it, but you have a 6-month probation. And if you violate that, you could serve it.
What kind of probation?
Well, it would be a non-reporting probation, but I'm just telling you what I typically see, not what I'm guaranteeing you or telling you or promising you. I can't do any of that.
Can you explain what a non-reporting probation means?
Well, I'm not going to be your attorney, and I'm not going to negotiate an outcome with you. That's why I say I'm going to enter a trial date and give you time to seek an attorney who could help you with all these questions. So let's set this August 27.
I didn't think this was something I needed an attorney for.
Well, you may not. Most people don't, but I can't tell you whether you do or you don't.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but
No,
I'm
you're
just
not.
very
No, you're not.
confused about what's going on.
I understand, and I don't want you to be confused by any stretch of the imagination. I want you to know exactly what you're doing and that you're able to do the process you want to. I can just tell you that a lot of people come in, they waive their right to an attorney, they enter a plea of no contest, which means they don't admit it, but they don't deny it, or they plead guilty. And then we proceed to sentencing. A lot of times it's a $50 fine, a 30-day sentence, and 6 months of non-reporting probation with the conditions that you pay within a set time and you don't violate any laws. Now, that's what I normally see. But in the worst possible scenario, you could get a $2,500 fine and 6 months in jail. I have never, ever seen that happen, but it could happen. So, and anything in between, anything in between could happen. But I've got a lot.
And this is for not showing up to the court date for a registration. I'm just confused.
All right, this is what could happen for driving without a tag or without proper registration under Kansas law. But I've got a lot of people on the docket, and I want you to have plenty of time to decide how you want to proceed. The best way to accomplish both ends for me is to set this over to August 27th at 1:30. And I think that's also the best for you because you do have a lot of questions that you deserve answers to, and you deserve the opportunity to talk to an attorney as well as to go online and look at the diversion. So as much as you want to get this over with today, I don't see how you can do that with all the questions that you have and the uncertainties.
I thought I was to come to court today,
You are.
and then
And
this would be like mean, I'm being treated like I did something seriously wrong. And now I'm supposed to do what? Like I show up at 1:30 in August, and then what?
Well, by then you could be diverted and have it off the court docket. You could have an attorney and you could come in and take it to trial.
What am I taking to trial? I don't understand what I'm taking to trial.
One charge of driving without a tag or proper license, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong now. You would be having a trial for the court to determine if you were driving without proper legal registration or tag.
I was
All
doing that.
right, so you're wanting to admit that today.
I mean, I don't know how else I'm supposed to defend that. That's what happened. It was
Okay,
accidental.
well, so are you wanting to plead guilty, admitting that today without the advice of an attorney? I mean, I can accept that if that's what you want, but it's got to be your choice.
I don't want to go to jail for that. I mean, is that a possibility?
Okay, that I've told you that is a possibility, although I've told you what typically happens and that I've never seen anyone go to jail for that, but they could technically, under the statute, go for 6 months. But I feel like you're trying to get me to be the prosecutor and negotiate your case.
I guess my question is who makes the decision?
As to what happens to you if you're found guilty? The court does. That would be me.
Okay.
Now I would listen to Mr. Regeer's recommendations. You might know something about your history that I don't. I would listen to any recommendations you had. But ultimately, I would be the one to decide if you're guilty based on your plea, and or trial, and I'd be the one to decide your sentence.
Okay.
So the first order of business is, do you want an attorney? Or do you want to waive your right to attorney and represent yourself?
I can't pay for an attorney.
All right. If you want to apply for court appointed, you can do that, and I will decide if you qualify for a court appointment.
I mean, I guess I better do that.
All right. The officer will give you an application to fill out. Complete it. Don't leave it blank. Don't leave the dates blank, and leave that with him. In the meantime, tell me where you work.
I'm a realtor.
You are a realtor?
Yes.
All right. Well, you may or may not qualify for an attorney, but I'm going to have you fill out the form. And I'll try to let you know before you leave today if you qualify for an attorney, if I can get that. Jan, I don't think Missy's here today. If you could have that faxed over maybe to our clerk, if she turns one in at your office. And you may not be at your office, but if you could ask somebody to fax that to me. I know fax doesn't usually come across real well. Trying to work with Miss Maxwell on this. All right, I'm going to take a recess, Miss Maxwell, so you can fill that out. And then I'll take you up later on the docket.
Okay.
That being the case, I'm going to let you leave and go to another room in the courthouse and fill out your application, and then we'll bring you back up.
You know that Lisa, then that's how I'm going to pronounce it, Lisa Kirkpatrick and dude in Butler County detention are just screaming at their screen saying, "Lady, like it's just a registration ticket. You'll be okay." And then Webster's kind of thinking the same thing. I get that semi-future Karen lady real estate. She might not be a Karen. She's too whiny to be a Karen. She wants to know her repercussions before they go through the process, and you know that Webster probably wants to say something like, non-reporting probation is just just don't get in trouble for 6 months. Don't get any tickets. She's getting taken over to fill out an application for a court-appointed attorney. If she's a decent realtor, there's no way she's going to qualify. She'll come back, and then they'll probably go over a diversion option with her while she's over there. I don't get in trouble. I don't get traffic tickets, but I'm assuming in this scenario, it probably would be more of a benefit to plead guilty, take the non-reporting probation, and then just be done with it. Diversion's going to have, I think, some classes. It's going to have the same terms as the probation. It's going to have steeper financial responsibilities. I won't say penalties. But since it's a registration, I don't believe it's points. It could be points in Kansas. I don't believe it's points where I am. I think based on that, I would probably just take whatever sentence that Judge Webster gives me. But she can be all over the place. Jay Regier, he's usually pretty fair. um, I think he's a little softer than Judge Webster, as we'll come to find out here pretty soon. So I guess you never really know which direction Webster's going to go, but if it had points, I would probably take the diversion. In this case, it doesn't. Anyway, she'll come back. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Being in recess on Maxwell, we have Mr. Patterson back. We were going to take up the Moore case. Are we ready on that, Mr. Patterson?
Judge, I have spoke to Mr. Moore. Would just need to see if I can have a brief breakout room with Mr. Regier and Mr. Smith.
Very well. Jen, could you help them please get a breakout room?
Can you repeat who's to go to the breakout room, please?
Be Mr. Regier and Ryan Smith.
Thank you.
And Darren Patterson, of course.
I feel like we've seen Lisa Kirkpatrick before. I think she's next. Is she next?
Going to recess so she could apply for a court-appointed attorney. I've been advised she wants to go back on the record, thus we are. Miss Maxwell, what is your position at this time?
I would like to apply for diversion.
You've decided you do or do not want to pursue the attorney application?
No, I do not.
All right, but you do want to apply for diversion, is that correct?
Right.
Now, you understand that if you do not get diversion, you're still back to that position of where you were. Do you understand that? You're not guaranteed diversion, and you
Right.
could end up back where we are right now. So if you're denied diversion, I'm going to have to continue this case, but I'm going to expect you to pursue the diversion to the end to find out if you're approved or not. And if you're approved, you have to comply with the next steps. If you're
Right.
denied, then you need to decide if you want to pursue an attorney, court appointed, or what you want to do in this case. So at this time, I will continue this at your request to September 22nd is my next available date for something of that sort. September 22nd at 9 a.m. Or Mr. Regier, do you prefer we keep it set for trial in the event she's denied diversion? So that we don't come back in the same position we're in right now.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would defer to the court as to how it wishes to proceed. As the court is well aware, the state's understanding it is a pre-trial diversion. So largely it would appear that the impetus for proceeding along the route of diversion, if that is indeed the defendant's intention, would fall to the defendant. But as to whether or not the court wishes to maintain the August 27th bench trial date, the state does not take a position.
Well, the 1-year anniversary of this court ticket is, or of this ticket is October 21st. So we're getting pretty close to a year mark. Miss Maxwell, do you have a preference whether I keep this set for trial or for a status to determine if you get the diversion? Or if you even know what I'm asking you?
I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Okay. Well, to keep this case from reaching that 1-year anniversary mark, and to kind of keep your feet to the fire, as the saying goes, to make sure you keep progressing forward, Miss Maxwell, I will leave it on the bench trial docket, August 27.
Very good, Your Honor.
So either be diverted or ready to go to trial. And if you want an attorney, you're going to have to hire one well before then, or you're going to have to apply for court appointed well before then. And if you show up without an attorney, I will trust that that means you're going to waive your attorney and represent yourself. Now, if you're denied diversion and you want to enter a plea of guilty or no contest, you don't want to go to trial, make sure you let the county attorney know before that date so they can cancel the witnesses that they will have here that date. Okay, if there's nothing further, I will continue.
Pardon me, Judge, on that case.
On the Maxwell, yes?
Yeah, if she happens to qualify, I can tell the court that I am going to be out of the state on August 27.
Okay. Well, talk about being a yo-yo. I guess we're gonna have to go back to, do you want it to September 22nd? Are you gonna be here then?
Yes, Judge, I'm not going out of town that long, but yes.
Okay. All right, September
Your Honor?
22nd, 9 a.m., yes?
She's not applying for the court-appointed attorney.
I know, but if she's denied diversion, she may not qualify. That's why we need to figure out where we're going from there. So I understand. She's just kind of at that spot where, and looking at her record, sometimes I have a real strong indication, but sometimes I don't. And I think I don't know. But it's not my position to qualify it. But September 22nd, 9 a.m., be back here or get another warrant. Unless you're diverted and the county attorney tells you that you're diverted and you don't have to.
How soon do they decide whether you've been
Usually
accepted for diversion?
My belief is that it's usually within a few weeks, but if you haven't heard from them in the mail, you better be calling them in a few weeks.
Okay.
All right, nothing further then. We'll be in recess on the Maxwell matter. Ms. Maxwell is excused for today. And then we'll go back on the record, and Jeremy Moore on the record in 2024 CR 201, State of Kansas versus Jeremy Scott Moore. Jared Regier for the state, Darren Patterson for the defendant, Jeremy Scott Moore, who also appears in person from the Butler County Detention Facility, and Court Service Officer Ryan Smith also appearing. At this time, Mr. Patterson, what is your client's position on the show cause?
Judge, pursuant to negotiations, I would announce this time Mr. Moore is going to waive hearing. He is going to stipulate that he has violated his probation by failing to report as directed, or not giving proof of employment, There is a recommendation that will be presented to the court at the time of disposition of Mr. Moore doing 14 consecutive weekends in the Butler County Jail and extending probation for 6 months. He is employed Monday through Friday, which is the reason for the request for weekends versus weeks. Thank you, Judge.
Where does he work?
Precision Remodeling is what he's told me, although I might not have the name completely correct. I didn't write it down real quick, but construction type work.
All right.
He says that's Monday through Friday, generally 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
All right, Mr. Moore, you do know you have the right to contest these violation allegations and have a hearing?
Yes,
You understand the state alleges that you failed to report as directed, failed to pay as directed, and failed or to gain or maintain employment. Do you understand those are the allegations against you?
yes, ma'am.
And that if you waive your right to hearing and stipulate, you're basically agreeing to these violations and the state does not have to prove it. Do you understand that?
Yes,
And you do agree that you didn't report, pay, or maintain employment.
yes, but I've paid off the fines though.
Okay, but you hadn't as of the time of the motion.
No,
Is anyone making you waive your right to hearing or stipulate that is agree to these violations?
no, ma'am.
And I've heard that there is an agreement between your attorney and the state and you as to the outcome of 14 weekends, but you understand that I'm not bound by agreements,
Yes, ma'am.
that I could order you to serve the balance of your sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and knowing all that, you wish to waive your right and stipulate.
Yes, ma'am.
Very well, I will find the defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to hearing and stipulated has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to hearing and stipulated to violations. I do find him in violation and revoke that that probation. It looks like that probation was based on an October 7, 2024 negotiated plea in which sentencing amounted to $100 fine on 158 court costs on count 3, KBI fee, supervision fee, etc. 10 days of house arrest with work release to be set up. Mr. Regier, apparently he served his 10 days of house arrest. Or should I ask the probation officer?
Your Honor, the state would respectfully defer to the probation officer on that particular issue. In the interests of economy, if I may address the terms of the plea deal at the appropriate time, if the court determines now is it.
Well, let me ask you, 14 weekends, that's 2 days. 48 hours, that's your agreement?
Your Honor, the state's understanding is that pursuant to plea negotiations, the state is prepared to recommend a 14-day sanction in the Butler County Jail to be served on consecutive weekends, so 7 consecutive weekends, and that probation be extended 6 months from today's date. If the court is going to order that the defendant receive credit for time served, at least at this juncture, the state is not recommending that such credit be applied towards any prospective 14-day sanction rather that the court may order.
Mr. Smith, do you know if he served the 10 days that he was ordered initially to serve?
Yes, Your Honor, he did. I did get a certificate of completion on October 28th.
And that was through house arrest
That's correct.
with work release.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
And now the recommendation is a total of 14 days, weekends. Do I understand that right, Mr. Regier?
Consecutive weekends, I believe, is what was negotiated pursuant to plea agreement, Your Honor.
So I thought 14 weekends, but it's 14 days.
On
So-
consecutive weekends, Your Honor, is what I believe was the terms of the negotiation. Perhaps some counsel for the defense can correct me if I've misspoken.
Mr. Patterson, is that what?
Pay attention to this clarification because she forgets this pretty quickly.
What the agreement was
That was what was discussed, Your Honor. Yes.
and agreed to 14 days?
Yes. Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
7? Okay. Does he have his driver's license back?
No, I don't.
And how do you get to and from work, sir?
My boss comes and picks me up, or another coworker,
Who's your boss?
uh, Jeremiah Grimes.
Jeremy Grimes?
Yep.
Does he have a valid license?
Yep.
Does he have a valid license?
As far as I know,
And who's the other coworker?
the other coworker, his first, I don't know his last name, but his first name's John.
And I don't suppose you know if he has a driver's license.
He does have a driver's license. I know that for a fact. I mean,
You've seen his?
yeah, we got pulled over one morning because he was speeding and he whipped his driver's license out and he had a valid driver's license.
Okay. Well, why haven't you reported like you were supposed to?
I missed because I was sick and then I should have called more. That was my fault.
You said you've paid your fines. Have you paid everything, including your KBI lab fee and the whole bit?
Yes.
Do you have any other cases pending?
No.
But you have had, as I recall.
The what? I didn't hear that.
As I recall, it seems to me you've had other cases you've been in front of me for.
Yeah, I've been in front of you before driving.
Possession of stolen property, you're that same Jeremy Moore, right?
Yeah, that was here. What? Possession of stolen property.
Yeah, 2018, 2016, weren't you here on some identity thefts and such? You've got,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was, yeah.
you've got a history, there's quite a few traffics going back to 14, more in 12, you had a driving while suspended. Tell me, you've got a long history, Mr. Moore, unbelievably long for miscellaneous crimes involving dishonesty or false statement and traffic. Mr. Patterson, Mr. Regier, why should I not just outright revoke him?
Judge, this is the first warrant to show cause on this case. As he stated on the report time of December 31st, he was ill. Judge, I believe that that's something that at some point Mr. Smith was alerted to, but my client, as he stated, he failed to stay in contact with Mr. Smith after that to get it rescheduled. And he puts that on himself, not Mr. Smith, but he did state he called him and then did not continue to call is how he messed up.
Well, this is not a guy that's new to probation. He's had probation for years and years. He should know of anyone how well this works. Mr. Regier, why is the state not seeking stronger penalties?
Your Honor, at this juncture, the state is prepared to abide by the terms of the plea agreement, recognizing that the court is not bound by that the court ultimately has discretion as to how it wishes to proceed in these types of matters. But at least at this juncture, the state is prepared to abide by the terms negotiated.
And
It's not a good sign for you, guy. It sounds like she might revoke your probation. Oh,
Mr. Smith, do you take a position on this?
Your Honor, going into the hearing, I had made recommendations in the request to revoke probation as serving 14 days and then being placed back onto probation. I did let court and counsel know that I have supervised him in the past and he has not had a successful probation and didn't see a whole lot of reason to continue supervising and recommended some form of a modified sentence. I think 14 days and closing the case, but I was not privy to or not very happy about the weekends necessarily, but I didn't take a strong stance just because I'm not confident that he will be able to make so many consecutive weekends and then cause the court more trouble because the county attorney would have to file motions because they didn't show up for court or for his revocation hearings. So I don't take a strong position, Your Honor. I just know that I have history with him and
Long history. And with his boss, we have some history too. Do you know if how his boss is doing? Is he on any conditional release to your knowledge right now?
I don't know currently, Your Honor. I can check.
If you could, I'd like to know that, since he relies on him for transportation and he also relies on him for apparently work and employment.
It appears Mr. Grimes is currently on probation with Tony Bauer out of our office.
And what's that for, if you know? All right, well, at this time, with the long history Mr. Moore has of failures on probation, I tend to think as well, Mr. Smith, that he won't make 14 weekends. I just don't see him doing that. I'm going to deny probation or deny the plan for probation and issue an outright revocation at this time. He is to serve the balance of his sentence. He is remanded to custody at this time. And if there's nothing further, we are in recess.
And Your Honor,
Mr. Regier?
for purposes of the journal entry, is the court ordering credit for time served at least up to today's point?
Credit for any time served, absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He's entitled to that. So, all right. Take him into custody, please, Deputy, on probation violations.
I don't know if you're watching his face, but it was completely stoic. I mean, I'm assuming that I'm assuming what happened probably met his expectations, especially when probation got on there and said these failed to meet his conditions anytime he's ever been on probation. Now, I had some hope for him for a while. First, he paid everything. Second, he did his initial 10 days or whatever. Third, I didn't think the penalty was that bad. There was some confusion there. He had to serve 14 days on consecutive weekends. At one point, Jerry Gear said 7 weekends. And I believe 14 days, which was what's remaining on his sentence. And then even Regier said, according to the plea deal, blah, blah, blah. And then so him and Patterson were all on the same page, but Judge wasn't having it. And I got to tell you, out of every judge I watch in every county, in every court, in every district, I would never mess with Webster. She says jump, you say how high, or you can go the Abel Estrada route and fight, tooth and nail at every turn, and then you might get your way that way as well. But I got to see how he's doing. I'm assuming he lost his appeal, but he still got the minimum fines, and I think no probation, no anything.
Any,
I'm just gonna let it roll. I might do a little bit of fast forwarding. I don't think the next case is too interesting. This guy and Lisa have been hanging out around for a while, so I'll let it roll for a little bit, and then probably stream a couple videos later.
anyone else in custody? Who do we have in custody now?
Kyle Hughes.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Jen, do you know why I'm not finding him alphabetically? It should be Huges. Is that how you spell it?
Hughes.
Traditional spelling. Do you have him, Jen?
I do not show him being on this docket.
Deputy at the county jail, do you show him apparently on this docket, or is he on the 130 maybe?
Well, maybe there was a mistake on our end. He's showing in this court, but we also have a Christina Schroer. Is she on your list?
No, that would be with a different judge.
Okay, we'll get it figured out. That's all we have. Then.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, then we'll take up, how about Samuel Allen Moore Jr.? We'll stay with the Moores. Is there a Samuel Moore here? And Mr. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. We'll take you up next. Mr. Smith, do you have any other cases today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. You're excused or you're welcome to stay, whichever you prefer.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. All right, we are on the record now in case number 2025 TR 763, State of Kansas versus Samuel Allen Moore Jr. Please announce appearances.
Jared Regier on behalf of the state.
Your Honor, Derek Patterson appear on behalf of Samuel Moore, who does appear via Zoom audiovisual. Judge, this is one count of no valid driver's license. My client would waive trial, enter plea of guilty to that charge.
Mr. Moore, is that right? You wish to plead guilty or admit that you were driving without a license in Butler County on January 18th of 2025?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone making you enter this plea today by threats or promises other than perhaps a plea agreement?
No, Your Honor.
And you understand that you're giving up your right to a trial with this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
And again, by pleading guilty, you're admitting that you were on January 18th, 2025, driving in Butler County. And was it on West Central Avenue in El Dorado, as the officer alleges?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's where you were driving? Okay. And you didn't have a license?
No, ma'am.
Very well. I accept your plea of guilty and find you guilty with you having knowingly and voluntarily entered that plea. Recommendations for sentencing, Mr. Patterson, or I'm sorry, Mr. Regier?
Yes, Your Honor. In this matter, the state is prepared to recommend a $100 fine, court costs deferred to the court on the issue of attorney's fees, as well as recommend an underlying jail sentence of 120 days, subject to a 6-month non-reporting probationary period. I will defer to the court as to any issues concerning repayment of this matter.
Mr. Patterson, recommendations?
We'd ask court to adopt the recommendation of the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Moore, where do you work, sir?
I'm currently looking to get disability. My only income monthly is rent from my home.
Okay.
I rent my home out.
Is there any reason you couldn't pay $250 towards your attorney fees?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I will order that you pay a fine of $100, court costs of $108, and $250 towards your court-appointed attorney fees. That gives you a total due of $458. Your controlling sentence will be 120 days. I will suspend that provided you are successful on a 6-month non-reporting probation. You will not have to see a probation officer, but there are a few things you have to do. The first is violate no laws during this 6 months. The second is to pay your fines and costs and attorney fees of $458. Do you need some time to pay that?
90 days if possible, Your Honor.
Can give you 90 days, but make sure it's paid, or your probation can be revoked and you can serve 120 days, and or your license could be suspended even though you don't have one. They could give it a suspended status, making it harder to get your license instated or reinstated. And or it could go to private collections and they could come after you just they would if you got a credit card judgment. So make sure you get that paid. Now, what's it going to do to what's keeping you from getting your license?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I thought they had been reinstated and were just not reinstated, but I thought my suspensions and fines from Indiana, which is where they were originally suspended at, were taken care of. I'm just having difficulty getting my ID back. So I wasn't aware at the time that I was aware, honestly, that they were expired. I just wasn't aware that I no longer had a valid one, if that makes sense.
Well, I am going to order that you make every effort to get your license reinstated during the next 6 months. And
Yes, ma'am.
when you get it reinstated, give it to proof to your attorney so he can pass it on to the county attorney.
Okay. Now I only have one question. Who do I contact as far as where I make my payments at or where I pay these?
Please call the Butler County District Court Clerk at 316-322-4370. And of course, violating the law means don't you dare drive again until that
I
license is
haven't been, Your Honor.
right. Get that license reinstated, though. You need to do that for all kinds of reasons to help yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if there's nothing further, we'll be in recess and you are excused from
I
today's.
appreciate it. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Leland John Lee Jr., are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. We are on the record in 2025 TR 121, State of Kansas versus Leland John Lee Jr. Please announce appearances.
Jared Regier on behalf of the state.
Your Honor, Darren Patterson appear on behalf of Leland Lee, who does appear via Zoom audio visual. Judge, this is a case where this morning I have sent an email to Mr. Regier with proof of insurance that does cover the day in question with the vehicle he was driving. Based upon that, we're requesting the state to allow that charge to be dismissed and that Mr. Lee would then enter a plea to no valid DL and state dismiss the tag. So I would request Mr. Regier if he's had a chance to look at that proof of insurance.
Before he answers, did your client go out for booking and processing like he was ordered? He's not affirmatively.
Not something I discussed with him, Judge, so I don't know.
And Your Honor, I would need the opportunity to review this matter further before I am in a position to respond. In response to the court's previous inquiry, what I would tell the court is I am not aware of any appearance bonds have been executed in this matter at this time.
Nor am I. Mr. Lee, when do you think you did that?
I did it, let's see. It was before my last court date.
Well, at your
No,
last,
no. I'm sorry. No, it was about 2 weeks after my last court date.
what was it, your
And when
last
you-
court date, April 23rd of 2025, that I ordered you to go out and go
And I
through
did.
the processing.
I did. I made the appointment. Couldn't make that appointment, so I rescheduled and went out and took care of it.
You didn't keep your first appointment. Are you sure you're not mixing that up with 24 CR 355?
I'm positive.
Yeah, goodness. Judge, we're checking it.
Thank you. All right, well, I can give you a minute, Mr. Regier, to look at that if you want to avoid having to set this case over another time. What is it you're suggesting?
Your Honor, I would need the opportunity to review this matter further before I am in a position to respond one way or another, as previously indicated.
Meaning you're gonna need a little more time than just 10, 15 minutes, or you're gonna need a few days, or?
Your Honor, if the court can give me 2 minutes of the court's time, I believe I will be in a position to respond. But again, without giving that opportunity, I do not believe I can at this juncture.
2 minutes, you've got it, Mr. Regier. Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
according to the jail, he did go out and get fingerprinted and processed
On this case number.
on this particular case,
Good.
on 25 TR 121.
Jim, do you see that bond anywhere in the file?
Hold on, Your Honor, I will look.
Thank you.
I do not have it in the file available to me.
Deputy, can you kind of track down the paperwork on that?
I'll have them send it to you guys.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. We are back on the record in number 2025 TR 121, State versus Lee, all parties as before. Mr. Regier.
Your Honor, some additional information has been brought to my attention regarding this matter. As the court is well aware, this is not my usual custom. However, in this particular instance, in exchange for a plea to count 1, the state is prepared to dismiss counts 2 and 3, provided that this matter is resolved on today's docket.
Plead to count 1, dismiss 2 and 3. Is that what your client wishes to do, Mr. Patterson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee, how do you plead to count 1, operating a motor vehicle without a valid license?
Guilty.
By pleading guilty, you're admitting that you did drive a motor vehicle in Butler County, Kansas on September 30th, 2020. 2024 without a valid driver's license. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
And where were you doing this driving?
Excuse me?
Right.
Oh, I was on 21st Street in Andover.
21st in Andover. Anyone making you enter this plea by threats or promises other than your plea agreement?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you understand you're giving up your right to a trial? You'll be convicted and unable to appeal that conviction.
Yes, ma'am.
And I will accept your plea as freely and voluntarily made. I do find you guilty of count 1, driving without a license. I will dismiss counts 2 and 3 and recommendations for sentencing, Mr. Regier.
Yes, Your Honor. The state is prepared to recommend at this time a $100 fine, court costs, deferred to the court on the issue of attorney's fees, suspended jail sentence of 120 days, subject to a 6-month non-reporting probation, as well as any other orders of the court may deem appropriate at this time.
Mr. Patterson.
We'd ask court to adopt the recommendations, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Where are you working?
I'm disabled.
All right. And you're getting paid disability each month?
Yes, ma'am.
About 9 something a month, or are you getting more than that?
I'm getting a little more than that, yes.
Okay. How much total?
Total I get, I think it's $13.88,
Okay. And are you married or single?
single.
Mhm. I am going to order, Mr. Lee, at this time that you pay a $100 fine, 108 court costs. I will waive your attorney fees. So you'll owe $208. How soon can you pay that?
If you could give me 45 days, maybe.
About 60 days.
Okay, perfect.
And your sentence will be 120 days. It will be suspended, provided that you comply with a 6-month non-reporting probation. For 6 months, you will be on probation. You won't have to see a probation officer, but you will have the condition that you violate no laws, and that means no driving, and that you pay within that you pay the 208 within 60 days. And what's keeping you from having a driver's license, Mr. Lee?
Um, just getting a doctor to sign off on my medical release. All the doctors that was on my case 21 years ago had either moved on or passed away or just
So
quit.
what kind of medical release do you need to get a license?
Just that I can drive safely.
All right. Well, you may have to get a new doctor,
I've
but
been looking.
if you don't have a driver's license, especially if it's based on a medical reason not to drive, then you better not be driving. So I'm not going to order that you get your driver's license if it's based on a medical reason, but I am ordering that you absolutely do not drive.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Anything else we need to address, Mr. Regier?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Patterson?
Nothing further.
Then we'll be in recess, and Mr. Lee is excused at this time. You may go, sir.
I appreciate your time.
Tania Lee on the record in 2024 TR 1319, State of Kansas versus Kania Nicole Lee. Please announce appearances.
Jared Regier on behalf of the state.
Your Honor, Darren Patterson appear on behalf of Kania Lee. Ms. Lee does appear via Zoom audio visual. And Judge, I would inquire, Mr. Regier, is what has been requested acceptable?
Your Honor, if I may have 1 minute of the court's time.
You can.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome. Ms. Lee, you need to stay in front of your screen, please, where I can see your whole
Sorry, I was
face.
trying to get a pen and paper.
Okay, well, that's good. Everyone always has to have pen and paper when they come to court. Thank you. You will be found guilty and unable
Yes.
to appeal that conviction.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to get ahead. That's what the headphones are for. She's there for a habitual violator. I think no driver's license, and she's pleading guilty. So I skipped a little bit of that.
And when you were driving on March 14th of 2024, were you on the Kansas Turnpike, that is Highway I-35 in Butler County, as the officer alleged?
Yes.
All right. I do note that from the officer's affidavit that was filed. I will find that you're knowingly and voluntarily entering this plea and find you guilty of driving while declared an habitual violator in count 1. Counts 2 and 3 are dismissed on motion of the state for plea agreement. Mr. Regier, sentencing recommendations, if any?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the state would be recommending a $200 fine that the court impose court costs and to determine an appropriate amount of attorney's fees. State would further be recommending an 8-month underlying sentence subject to a year of reporting probation, all standard conditions of a $60 probation fee, and any other orders of the court may deem appropriate.
Mr. Patterson?
Your Honor, we'd ask court to adopt the recommendations.
Thank you. And Miss Lee, where do you work?
I don't work. I don't have a job right now.
How long have you been unemployed?
Like 4 months.
And is there a reason you cannot work at this time?
Lack of transportation, lack of childcare.
Okay. Where do you live? Out in the country or in town somewhere?
No, I live on Ridge Road in Wichita.
Okay. Does the public bus go through there?
Yeah, I just don't have childcare. Like I live in Wichita by myself. I don't have no family here.
Okay.
So,
and how many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
6 and 2.
Okay. I will waive your attorney fees, but you're ordered to pay $200 towards fines, $108 towards court costs, and $60 towards supervision fee. Do you have any income at all at this time?
No.
Do you have any assistance? I'm sorry, any assistance?
Yeah, like EBT assistance. That's what I have.
Okay. All right. Well, how long do you think it would take you to pay $368?
I need like a month or so. Try to figure out, get a job.
Okay. All right. Well, your fine is $200. Your court costs are, or I'm sorry, your jail sentence is 8 months. I will suspend that provided you successfully complete a 1-year reporting probation. That will include, in addition to the $200 fine, $108 court costs and $60 probation supervision fee. I am going to order that you pay at least 1/12 of the total due each month, with the first payment due on August 7th and 1/12 due on the 7th day of each month thereafter. You can always pay more if you want to pay early, but you have to pay at least 1/12.
And if I can't pay it, who do I talk?
Well, you talk to your probation officer, and
Okay.
you are to call your probation officer immediately after court at 316.
What's the?
I'm sorry? I thought you went and got a pencil and
Then
paper.
go ahead.
It's
I got it.
Okay, 316-452-0145. That's not their usual number, but it's the one they said to have you call today.
Okay.
Call them immediately after court. That's your first order of probation. Now, if they decide they want to let you transfer that to Sedgwick County where you live, and they can do that, I have no problem with it. But all standard conditions will apply, and they will go over those with you. You must violate no laws and take whatever efforts you can to get well, if you're revoked, you're revoked. Do you know how long your revocation will be? How much is left on it?
Till February 16th.
Of what year? 25? I mean, 26. 26. Well, in order to get off probation, you need to show the probation office that you've done as much as you can once February rolls around.
Okay.
To get that reinstated. Anything else from anyone?
No,
Your Honor.
All right, then Miss Lee, you are excused to call your probation office at this time, and we'll be in recess. We'll take up Lacamera, case number 2024 CR 450, State of Kansas versus Brian Odell, LACAMERA. How is that pronounced?
The camera.
Oh, not even close. Okay, I'm gonna skip through the camera. Darren Patterson is basically saying that they have a defense based on you got the wrong guy. It's a false identity thing, which actually happened to me one time. Somebody took my name and my date of birth that was on Facebook, which is not publicly available on Facebook anymore. And what they did was they opened up a library card. And so one day I was working, let's see, at the time I lived in Denver, Colorado. And I was working at a job that I had to clock in and clock out for. And this guy gets pulled over like 90 miles south, maybe 60 to 90 miles south of me, and tells the PD or the sheriff, "Oh, I don't have my driver's license, but I've got my library card here. It's got my name and my birth date's this." And so they issued him a ticket in my name. Of course, he doesn't show up to court, and then I get a bench warrant. And so I get a thing in the mail saying, you missed court, blah, blah, blah. So, I panicked, and then I checked the date and the time, and I was like, okay, well, this definitely wasn't me. And luckily, I was able to do this all over the phone, and it took me maybe an hour. So I called the city that the city or the county the court was supposed to be in. I was like, hey, I don't know who you pulled over, but it wasn't me. I was working, 90 miles north. I can show my time records. I can show that I was nowhere near this spot. And so then within, within that same hour, somebody was able to talk to the judge and they were able to get it dropped. I still had to deal with it for a couple years because it took, because once that goes to the county, it goes more than the county, it goes to the Secretary of State, it goes to the state tax office, and they withheld my state income tax returns, which are, my state returns are never much, but I still don't like them to be withheld anyway. So they withheld those for 2 years in a row, and each time I had to call them. And I remember I called this one lady, and she said, "Hey, do you remember that one time you didn't show up for court?" I'm like, "Hey, why are you talking to me like I was at fault here? Did you check the court records? Did you see it was dismissed with prejudice, showing that I was factually innocent?" And they got that cleared up, but I had to do that 2 years in a row. To this day, I still have to carry around this packet that says what happened, basically, in case it happens. Oh man, I had sinus surgery the other day, and I guess my nose decided to bleed. Anyway, I'm gonna go take care of this. Let me skip forward a case. But he's gonna plead not guilty. He's gonna go to the next phase. This lady was similar to the one we just saw. And when we get to the next one, you'll be where I am. Let's see where.
Found you.
I was in the city of Andover near
Very well.
21st, in the city of Andover.
Thank you. I will find the court has jurisdiction and that you are freely, is anyone making
Okay,
you
we'll let
notice
this one
plea if
roll
I
for a
didn't
little bit
already
and try to
ask
get ahead
you?
again.
No.
And you understand you're giving up your right to trial. You'll be found guilty and unable to appeal your conviction.
Yes, Your Honor.
And I do find that you freely and knowingly enter this plea, finding you guilty of count 2, driving in violation of the interlock device for your ignition, finding you guilty. I also dismiss counts 3 and 4 per plea agreement. Count 2 or count 1 being previously dismissed. Recommendations for sentencing, Mr. Regier.
Yes, Your Honor. On the sole count remaining before the court, the state is prepared to recommend, pursuant to plea negotiations, a $200 fine, court costs, that the court make an appropriate determination on the issue of attorney's fees, that the court further impose the 6-month underlying sentence subject to a year of reporting probation, all standard conditions, including a $6 probation fee.
Mr. Patterson.
Judge would ask court to adopt the recommendations.
Thank you. And where do you work, Mr. Payton?
I'm currently have a part-time appointment with Bud Palmer Auction here in Wichita, Kansas.
And is there a reason you can't work full-time?
No, except for transportation issues, and I've been working with the Workforce Center on updating my resume. I was close to having a full-time job, but I had a traffic court in Andover, and I had a lot of I had a attendance problem with going to court, and then my truck broke down, and I had an illness. I was just short of a week from being through my 90-day period, but they terminated me due to my absenteeism. So I'm looking for full-time work.
All right, well, good. Good that you're doing that. At this time, I'll follow your agreement, $200 fine, $108 court costs, $60 supervision fee. There will be $250 towards your court-appointed attorney fee. 6 months suspended sentence that you will not have to serve if you successfully complete 1 year of reporting probation. You will need to report to a probation officer, and as soon as this hearing is over, you need to call 316-452-0145. That's your probation officer. And you'll need to comply with all the standard
the next one.
conditions that they go over with you. I want you to continue.
The next one is a little more. I mean, there's nothing in this one. I got a little ahead. This one's got a little more gear in it.
Obtaining a valid driver's license.
So, in case I skipped through it, this guy's got a suspended license from New York. He moved to Kansas. He needs to get a new license in Kansas. From my understanding, it's just as simple as him going to the office, to the driver's license office or the DMV, and getting a new license and taking a driver test, which I wonder what those are like now because I haven't done one since I was 16. Um, he still hasn't done it yet. He wants, well, I think they'll cover the rest of that here, but we get a classic Regear objection here.
This is a New York suspension that he's working on, and apparently New York has quite a few hoops to jump through, and he's still working on those. He is requesting an additional continuance.
Well, this case has been going on since September 9th of 2024. How much longer does he anticipate he might need?
He believes he is getting close to the point where he's going to be taking a driver's test, actually driving the car here in Kansas here pretty quick.
If
Is that correct, Mr. Rooney?
Yes, Your Honor. Unfortunately, they wouldn't take any other documents in lieu of my birth certificate, which had to be ordered from New York City. And it was 60 to 90 days to get it. I just received it last week, and Kansas said that that was all I was waiting for. So all I have to do now is go down and schedule.
Mr. Regeer, does the state object to setting this over at the defendant's request to September 22nd?
Your Honor, the state would have its concerns noted on the record if the court is prepared to proceed at that time. This does appear to be a case where, pursuant to the affidavit, it is alleged that the counts currently before the court occurred on September 9th of 2024. Therefore, if the court does continue to the September 22nd date, it would appear to be past the 1 year anniversary for this case. Additionally, it would appear that when this matter last came before the court, approximately 2.5 to 3 months previously, on April 21st, similar statements were made on the record based off my notes. So if the court does continue this out yet again, it will be over the state's objections.
All right, so you're objecting to today's continuance or any future continuances, or both?
The state would be objecting to any additional continuances in this matter at this time, Your Honor.
All right, so the state objects to continuing this today. It looks like December 11th, the defendant appeared and was going to apply for court appointed. And we had to continue it then for 4 months over to March 3rd. Mr. Patterson was present, continued at the defendant's request. So we set it over to April 21st. Set over to today. I am denying the request at this time, Mr. Patterson, because with the history of the case, there's no certainty that we won't come in September 22nd and have the same position. So
Thank you, Judge. We'd request be set for jury trial.
Very well. Jury trial. The next one, though, is not until after the control hearing, but at least by then he ought to have his license. The next one is October.
Right. Let's go for it a little bit. I'm curious about Lisa Kirkpatrick or Fitzpatrick. All right, next guy is something that gets oh no, 6 month non-standard, no reporting. Sorry, probation. And let's see, we got a guy that took a nap. Let's see if nap time is interesting. Oh, I just realized the wood guy in my chat's called nap time.
Well, I've already given you a lot more than that. I've already called your cases, you know.
Awesome. Okay, I'm set.
Okay, I am on the record in case number 2025 TR 766, State of Kansas versus Logan Christian Scuderi. It is now all parties as before, plus the defendant now. It is 11:21. You are ordered to be here at 8 o'clock, no later than 9. Where have you been?
I thought that I had court at 11, and I woke up and was getting ready, and I looked at my card and it said 8 o'clock. And then I called Darren Patterson to see what I can do, and he said jump on the Zoom call as soon as possible.
Well, you've got a bench warrant with a $2,000 cash or surety bonds.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Well, you may not need it, but I don't need to have you show up this late and have to call your case twice. Mr. Regier, state's position.
Your Honor, the state has already made its recommendations in this matter. The state does not feel it is in a position to advise the court to overturn its own orders, so the state will defer to the court as to how it wishes to proceed.
Mr. Patterson, anything else you want to say on this issue?
Judge, this is a case where if I had an opportunity to discuss the case with Mr. Scudera in a breakout room, we may be able to finish it. I don't know.
How old are you, Mr. Scuderi?
I just turned 20.
20? You work? Go to school?
I'm on a job hunt right now.
You're on a job what?
On a job hunt. I just got let go. I just got let go from my other job.
What was it?
I worked at Mears Fertilizer.
How long had you been there?
7-8 months.
You live with your parents?
I live with my sister.
Your sister. And you're saying you just happened to wake up at 11 o'clock and decide?
No, I woke up before that. I woke up at 10 o'clock and I was getting ready and stuff and took a shower and all that. And then when I looked at the paper, it said that I had court at 11, or I had court at 8 o'clock, and I thought it was 11.
All right. Well, what town do you live in?
El Dorado.
Well, you need to go turn yourself in to the Butler County Sheriff, and they will give you a new court date.
Okay.
And you better not miss it.
I won't.
All right.
Well, thank you.
We'll be in recess.
And bring a couple $100 so you can get yourself back out.
All right.
And Your Honor,
Mr. Regier?
Before the court proceeds further, the state would request to go back on the record briefly in the Neil Allen case, since Mr. Patterson is still present.
All right, Mr. Scuderi, you're free to go, but you go directly to the sheriff, to the detention facility, and turn yourself in immediately.
Okay. Will do.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
Make sure somebody with a legal license drives you, and if you need a ride, I can have the sheriff go pick you up.
Okay. Well, thanks, Your Honor.
You're welcome. For what it's worth, you're welcome. All right, now.
You think he's gonna go?
On the Allen matter?
Very briefly, Your Honor.
9 times out of 10, I'd say they're not going to go. I think this kid's actually going to go.
All right, we're back on the record in 25 CR 32, State of Kansas versus Neil Allen. All parties before, except is Mr. Allen already gone? Looks like he is. Mr. Regier, you wanted to go back on the record?
Very briefly, Your Honor, the state understands that when the court previously took up this matter, the court did order a reporting probationary period in this matter. The state, for purposes of finalizing the journal entry, the state would request clarification on the record as to the length of such reporting probation.
6 months reporting probation per plea agreement. Thank you, Mr. Regier.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing further from the state.
You're welcome. We are now on the record in 2023 TR 787, State of Kansas versus Tamika M. Anderson. Jared Regier for the state. Darren Patterson
Still no
for the
Lisa.
defendant. Tamika Anderson, are you here?
There's Tamika.
Okay, please start your audio, video. I'm sorry, you've got your video. Just
It's my understanding that the clerk, or I don't know if that's the actual name. I think it's the court administrator, checks in everybody, and then kind of puts them into some sort of waiting room until their case is called. So that's why you see these people pop up as soon as their case gets called. But I don't know why Lisa Kirkpatrick is still hanging around. Maybe she's like the standby. Maybe she's like the standby defendant. They'll get to her if they have time, but it's not her day. Who knows? I don't know.
start your audio, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Judge. I would just request from Mr. Regier if what we have requested is acceptable.
Mr. Regier.
I will need 1 moment, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, the state is prepared to proceed in this matter.
Very well, Mr. Patterson.
We'll get some frozen
Judge,
faces from
I
Tamika.
apologize. I need a brief breakout room with Miss Anderson.
Okay. Miss Anderson, you're gonna need to turn on your volume, but now you need to watch for a breakout room. Click on it. Well, it comes up on your screen.
Gotta love Zoom.
Jen, did she click on it? I still see her.
I know.
Miss Anderson, you should see invitation to a breakout room or something like that on your screen. Click on it, please.
I'm wondering.
That's why. Okay, there we go.
Well, all right. Miss Anderson, are you still there? Miss Anderson.
I'm
Okay, first of all, I'm not sure we're going to be able to have you here. All right, Mr. Patterson, I don't know if we're going to be able to have a hearing with her being cutting in and out like she is, so.
I'll talk to her about that too. I mean, did she go to the breakout room?
Jen, did she go to the breakout room or did she just leave? Do you know?
She is in the breakout room, but I'm going to have to put her in a different one. Darren, hang with me for just a minute. I'm going to put you in a breakout room and then I'm going to put you in another one, okay?
Okay.
There you go.
Was I supposed to go to another breakout room?
Yeah, I'm going to put you in number 2, accept it, and then I'm going to invite you back to number 1.
I can go to number 1 right now if you want.
Yes, I didn't know you could do that. Go.
I can. I will go there. Thank you.
Okay, can we do another case now, Jen? Are we
Yeah, let's do another
clear for
case,
that?
Judge.
If we have a pro se, it looks like it.
I think we do. We have, where did I see? How about Ortega? Is Victor Ortega here? No, Mr. Patterson's back.
I went to breakout number room 1 and nobody was there, so she must have dropped out.
We lost connection.
All right. Well, let's take up I'm gonna take up Mr. Ortega, and if she comes back, I've already called him. He's pro se. Mr. Ortega, you're gonna have to stop moving around, though. I can't have court with you walking down the hall. That's not the way it works. And I can't hear you, so you have to turn your phone on. All right, I'm gonna move on to somebody I can hear and can have them stand still.
Your Honor?
Are you gonna stay still, Mr. Ortega, or are you gonna have to keep walking?
No, I'm going to say so, Your Honor. I was just going to an office so I could have some privacy. I apologize.
Well, how long are you gonna be?
I'm ready, Your Honor.
Okay, let's go back to your case then. We're on the record in 2024 TR 2975, State of Kansas versus Victor Ernesto Ortega. Jared Regier for the state. The defendant appears in person and pro se. Mr. Ortega, are you planning to represent yourself in these proceedings?
Yes, Your Honor.
You told me on February 26th of 2025, you're going to hire your own attorney. You told me on April 21st, you were looking to hire Darren Patterson, and now it's your intention to represent yourself. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. I did try to reach out to Darren Patterson. I just never got any word back from him. I'm not sure what happened in that regard. So I just kind of pushed forward and realized.
I'm sorry. That is not what I intended to ask you. My question is, if I accept his waiver, are you willing to negotiate with him having waived his counsel?
Your Honor, if the court is finding that that the defendant has successfully waived his right to counsel on the record, the state is prepared to dismiss the speeding charge and explain for a plea as charged to the registration count. I am not personally aware of any communications the defendant may or may not have with my office, so I cannot speak as to that at this time. But for purposes of resolving that the matter today, that is what I can tell the court at this time.
All right. So, Mr. Ortega, you do want me to find that you have knowingly and freely, voluntarily waived your right to counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and no one's making you do this, and you know you don't have to. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then I find that you have knowingly and voluntarily waived your right to counsel on the record, and the journal entry and docket notes should so reflect. Now then, you've heard what the county attorney said they would do. They would dismiss the speeding if you pled guilty to the registration. Are you willing to do that?
I'm not sure of the costs and fines associated with the registration or how that would affect my driver's license.
Was that a yes or a no? You don't want to accept it? Or you do?
I'll accept it, Your Honor.
All right. I will ask you if anyone is making you enter this. So are you pleading guilty to registration violation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is anyone making you enter this plea today by threats or promises other than the agreement that Mr. Patterson, any announcements?
And I can't remember if I've asked Mr. Regier, is what I have requested acceptable?
Your Honor, as previously indicated on the record, the state is prepared to proceed in this matter at this time.
All right, defendant is looking at 106 miles per hour and is 75 and driving while suspended, second or subsequent.
Dang,
Mr.
Tamika.
Patterson announcements.
Would announce this time pursuant to the amended information, my client will be entering a plea of guilty to count 2, driving while suspended, class A, non-person misdemeanor.
And is that, you said a class A?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Regier, that's your agreement?
That is the state's understanding, Your Honor. Upon successful entry of a plea to count 2, the state is prepared to dismiss count 1.
All right. Does she have another pending case?
I'm sorry, Judge.
Does she have another pending case? I show her in 787.
No, ma'am.
What? Tamika M. Anderson. I also show cross-reference. Okay, I don't understand that code, Jen, that BUDK 31W01. Is that some kind of action through the Department of Motor Vehicles?
Let me try to get to where you're at so I can see what it is.
Down there under the very bottom right where it says case cross-reference.
That wasn't me.
I'm not seeing it. Where are you looking again?
Down in the right, very bottom right. Cross-reference.
Oh, I see. I do not know what that is, Your Honor.
I've never seen that either. I do notice notation up there in the far left as well. So, Miss Anderson.
I can tell you, Your Honor, what you're seeing on the left is not for Butler County.
All right.
And it looks like that other code may have been something through the DMV.
Okay. Miss Anderson, I am going to continue this case at the courts, on the court's own motion, to 9 a.m. July 14th, 2025. I'm going to order that you personally be present at the courthouse in El Dorado, 8 a.m. July 14th. where do you live, Miss Anderson?
In Kansas City, Kansas.
You're in
And
Kansas City?
yes, I have 9 children, so I will have to make accommodations to catch the Greyhound there because I don't have any transportation to get to El Dorado.
All right, well, you need to be here in person, 9 a.m. I'm sorry,
9 kids?
8 a.m. if you, yeah, I will extend it to 9 if you have to take till 9. But I want you physically in the
It'll be
courthouse
tough.
and available to Mr. Patterson, and I need to figure out what a couple of these codes mean, if those are just Department of Motor Vehicle codes, if they're something that I should know about, but there's just some.
I have been paying off my tickets because I have several tickets, and that's stopping me from getting my license. And it went into collections because it has been 10 years since I had those tickets, and they told me last week that I needed to call sometime this week and so that they can update it because I have paid off 3 of those tickets with them garnishing my checks.
Mm.
And I won't be able to get my license until those tickets are paid off. And I can't modify it or anything because they have went into collection. That's what the DMV told me.
All right, well, that's my order, that you have to be here Monday morning, a week from today.
And that I mean, I can't get a little more time to be there in person because I don't get paid until that Friday, July, that week of because we just got paid this Friday, and I won't get paid again until that Friday.
If I extend it to Monday, July 21st, 2 weeks, will that be of help to you?
Yes, ma'am. I could buy me a ticket next week and be there on the 21st. Yes, ma'am. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna catch the Greyhound to Wichita, and from there my dad would drive me there because they live in Wichita. So I would have to catch the bus there and catch a ride with him to El Dorado because there's no Greyhound bus that go there. I don't believe.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna, since we're gonna have to go through all that, let me recess your case and I'll call it again here in just a little bit.
Okay.
Tamika, that sounds insanely reasonable. And you're planning it out. Man, court is just not fun today. How often do you hear defendants say, I can't come there, I don't have a right. Instead, she's like, well, I need this amount of time to plan. I need to get a bus ticket. Once I get the bus ticket, I'm going to get a ride this way. She's a pretty reasonable person. She was speeding. She got a bunch of tickets, but she's kind of got it together. So I might have to skip over this one too.
Okay.
Way behind as usual, which, well, anyway, they give you a recess, but don't go away.
Okay.
He is still at inpatient treatment, Your Honor. The anticipated discharge date, which was on the report we'd sent to court previously last week, anticipated discharge is August 14.
Okay, I gotta say it. Did he just say the anticipated discharge for Brandon Brands come is August 14th? I'm pretty sure that's what he just said.
And as I recall, he checked himself into treatment about the date of court last time.
He checked in June 14, Judge, and this is a 60-day treatment instead of the normal 28-day.
and he's in treatment for alcohol or drugs, but not domestic violence.
This is for his addiction issue, Judge. Yes.
All right. Mr. Regier, are you wanting to proceed with sentencing?
Your Honor, the state is prepared to proceed to sentencing in this matter. I do have a note in my file which would appear to suggest that the victim did intend to speak at today's hearing. However, I do not have anything else to offer the court beyond that. But at this juncture, the state is prepared to proceed and eager to reach a resolution in this matter.
And he started raising his hand too, so let's hear what the guy's got to say.
All right. And the alleged victim, is she here?
I do not have any information as to that at this time, Your Honor.
But she was given notice of the hearing. Danielle Erskine. Danielle Erskine fails to appear. All right, then please proceed, Mr. Regier.
Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to plea negotiations, at this time, the state is prepared to recommend a 6-month underlying sentence subject to a year of reporting probation with all standard conditions, including a $60 probation fee. The state is recommending in the current case pursuant to plea negotiation that run consecutive to any other Butler County cases the defendant is currently being supervised on, that the court assess all appropriate costs and fees, make an appropriate determination on the issue of attorney's fees. The state is not recommending a fine in this case. However, the state is recommending that the defendant be ordered to complete a domestic violence offender assessment and follow recommendations, that any no contact orders could potentially be lifted upon successfully entering the appropriate program, that the court be ordered, that the defendant be ordered to consume no alcohol or drugs and report to court services immediately following today's hearing.
Mr. Patterson.
I have a moment with my attorney, Your Honor. That's not quite the understanding that I had as far as the plea agreement, and I have some other information.
Very well. We'll take a brief recess. It is noon, so if we can keep it brief.
Yes, ma'am.
On the record, I think I have another pro se, don't I? Maybe not. These are all Mr. Patterson's. How about Lisa Kirkpatrick? Have we taken that up? I don't believe we have. She's pro se, all right.
And
On the
she's been there
record
all
in
day.
2025 TR 79, State of Kansas versus Lisa Lynn Kirkpatrick. Jared Regier for the state, Lisa Kirkpatrick in person and pro se. Ms. Kirkpatrick, how do you intend to proceed on this case?
I would like to go ahead and plead today.
Okay. Are you going to have an attorney represent you? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
She's been active all day and she freezes when she finally gets called.
Did you freeze?
Oh, man.
Lisa Kirkpatrick, can you hear me? All right, well, we've lost Lisa Kirkpatrick. Ms. Kirkpatrick, you're going to need to get where I can see and hear you if you're going to participate in today's hearing. All right, we'll be in recess until Lisa Kirkpatrick can join us again, and if she can't, then I'll have to issue a failure to appear or continue. Are you here?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
God, that would be the worst luck. I mean, she's been logged in she's been logged in the entire morning, and then her phone box on her when she tries to participate, and then Webster's gonna drop a warrant on her. This is not good for her. It's fun for us. Let's see how it plays out.
Very garbled, and your picture looks frozen.
And she's gone.
And now she's gone? All right. Warren Copeland, are you here? You are. I'm just taking inventory or attendance. Richard Crumrine. Is Richard Crumrine here? Are you Motorola G, sir?
Yeah, that's me. I'm here.
Okay. I'm just taking attendance.
Oh, yeah.
Gurmis is here. Griggs? Looking for Wyatt Griggs?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Thank you. Travis Holloway is here. I see you, sir. You don't have to turn your volume on yet. Nicole Jones is here. Thank you.
There she is.
Can you start your audio? Can you click on the red audio?
She's
Lisa
still struggling
Kirkpatrick.
though.
All right, you want to bring Darren Patterson back in? Back on the record in 25 CR 185, State of Kansas versus Brandon Lee Branscombe, all parties as before. Mr. Patterson, are we going to be able to resolve this matter today?
Judge, I would tell the court that my client wanted me to know that both of them are currently working at TFI separately, though, because of no contact order. And he's aware through TFI contact that Miss Erskine is in a meeting. She has a meeting at 11:30 every Monday to meet with the kids, so that she's not available for that reason. I think my client also believes that she should be here to tell the judge what she knows, Your Honor. So that, and I think Mr. Regier stated she wanted to address the court. So we are asking the court to continue the sentencing till possibly when he's out of treatment, August 14.
Mr. Branscombe, you are in violation of your bond condition for no contact because you are not to be having contact with her through
He's getting that
third
information.
parties. He's doing it through third parties.
No, they're just telling him, Judge.
I did not ask, Your Honor. That was just something that they had offered. I even specifically said to Miss Tamara when she gave me that information, if I was going to be in trouble for knowing that I wasn't asking it, and she had just offered that to me.
Pulled up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I've been told by many places that TFI wants the no contact order lifted so they can have them working together towards getting the kids back. He has not. So apparently they have separate days that they meet with TFI. Mr. Branscombe apparently has contact with them Tuesdays. Miss Erskine has contact with them on Mondays. So I don't know that there's any contact directly or that we considered through third parties.
We'd call that third party if they were anybody but a governmental agency. If their
No,
neighbors were doing
no,
that,
no,
it
Judge,
would
that's a
be
stretch.
a violation of the bond.
It's not. It wouldn't be third party even if it wasn't a government agency. It's kind of like the same thing as one of them goes to a bar and talks to the bartender and then leaves. And then the other one goes to a bar and talks to the bartender. And then the bartender's like, "Oh, I saw such and such here." But didn't really communicate, but didn't relay a message and say, "Oh, by the way, they told me to say this or that." They just said, "Oh, I saw such and such here. They drank this and that." Right? Now it'd be different if it was, "Oh, well, I saw such and such here and they wanted me to tell you this or they wanted me to pass this note," right? But instead, this is a government agency, which is basically Webster kind of justifying the scenario, saying, okay, family X has husband A and wife B independently working on a whole bunch of stuff, probably. And here's what I've communicated to A, here's what I communicated to B. Here are the things that each can know about each other relative to this total resolution, but I can't tell A something for B or B something from A. Sorry, I probably made that even more confusing. You guys got it.
If TFI knows there's a no contact and they're doing that, trying to get them back together in spite of the bond conditions and the no contact order, they're interfering with the judicial process. They may have some legal actions of a criminal nature themselves. Because when the court says there's to be no contact, that's what it means, no contact. And TFI is violating court orders by running interference for the parents and trying to get the parents to have contact again. And there are a number of things about this whole situation that just is concerning to the court. The timing and what's going on between the parents and the agency. Mr. Branscombe, when is your release date?
I am not 100% sure, Your Honor. I would have to ask my case manager or them to pull it up on file, but I believe it's the beginning or middle of August. It's a 60-day program, so it is.
Yeah, and that part's shady for sure. He was convicted or he pled guilty, and his next appearance was supposed to be his sentencing, but instead he checked himself into rehab. I'm sure that happens more often than we think it does, but yeah, that's shady on his end.
Okay.
This matter is
You just looked it up.
continued.
It's the 14th.
The 14th of August.
Yes, ma'am.
This matter is continued to September 22nd.
And just to let you
9
know, Your Honor.
a.m. You are continued on your bond. Are we looking at a bond revocation hearing on him, Mr. Regier?
Your Honor, I have no personal knowledge as to any communications that may or may not have taken place, but I will certainly put a note in the file. What I would tell the court is that this does appear to be a case where the information was signed by my colleague, Ms. Norris.
Well, I show that on May 22nd, 2025, a motion to revoke or modify bond was filed. That was filed by the state of Kansas, alleging that this defendant had been having contact with the alleged victim, Danielle Erskine. And this is the one where the two officers and the civilian came in from the Newton Police Department and testified that they were having that commotion in the alleyway. Do you remember that, counsel? Mr. Patterson, Mr. Regier, remember that hearing? The two of you did not want me to hear from the Newton police officer or the woman that reported them for being in the alley having all the trouble. And recall that I was concerned or suspicious that Mr. Branscombe was hiding, so to speak, in this newfound treatment to avoid his bond revocation.
Okay, everything she just said there is just spot on. And Branscombe, you probably shouldn't be nodding your head here when they're talking about bond revocation.
Am I the only one that remembers all of that?
Judge, I do remember the hearing and that the state withdrew their motion. I do recall that also. And that's why my client entered a plea. But I can't see that his treatment is a bad thing. So I guess I would request the court allow him to finish the treatment he's currently in.
And Your Honor, it is the state's understanding that at the June 9th setting, at which time the defendant did enter a no contest plea to count one, the state did withdraw the motion pursuant to plea agreement.
That's right. And I recall you both objected to me having the officer still testify as to what he knew about the no contact. It looks to me like my no contact order, or whichever judge
And Your Honor,
ordered
and
it.
Your Honor, forgive my interjection. I believe it, my understanding is that Mr. Patterson was the attorney who had objected to the court eliciting testimony in this matter. My understanding is that the state stayed silent as to that issue, so the state would not have its actions during the last hearing, during the June 6-9 hearing be characterized in that fashion.
Well, I know that I was discouraged by both parties from hearing the information from the officer and the civilian that saw him during the no contact bond being gruff and abrupt and so alarming that law enforcement became involved, and I believe the charges were filed against him in the other jurisdiction and may still be pending. I don't recall on that part the specifics. I believe the woman may also have gotten charges. But now we come back a few months later, and I'm told he's having contact through the Department of Family Services or their agent. This is the most bizarre case I have ever in my life seen, where all the agencies are secreting themselves, so it looks like to this court, I'm secreting themselves to do something for this defendant without the.
I mean, there's a little strangeness going on here. But from a timeline standpoint, Webster, I think you're just being a little paranoid. So it sounds like the state dropped their motion for bond revocation because he's got good representation of Darren Patterson, and Darren Patterson probably worked that into part of the plea deal. Like, well, drop this, we'll plead to this. Okay, so that settles part one. There's no, and then the part two is Webster being Webster. I mean, there's no. I'm going to assume that what Patterson and Branscombe are saying is that the Department of Family Services or whatever it's called is just passing information. I mean, they have mutual kids. There's got to be some information passed, right? But I would doubt that they're passing indirect communication to any extent. You know, I mean, there might be he said, she said thing there, but Webster, you need to move on because now, you know, it's not often where I hear practicing law from the bench. There might be a little bit of it right here.
Court knowing it.
Plus, we are out of the oh God, what's it called? Oh, I'll leave the legal jargon out of it. But we're not at the sentencing part. You can probably factor that in if you want to. But you don't have a legal basis. You just have your assumptions and opinions right here.
Mr. Regier, I am going to expect an explanation for why the state's governmental agency is running interference for him and his wife, trying to reconcile them, apparently through a child in need of care case, while their kids are apparently in state's custody because of their conduct. And then I want to know why the state isn't as concerned about them having contact, even though the state, no doubt, asked for the no contact in the initial bond set.
And Your Honor, as it is the state's understanding that a plea deal was reached between counsel for the defense and my colleague, Ms. Norris, in this matter. I will put a note in the file and communicate with my colleague regarding this matter.
All right, then maybe your colleague needs to be here answering these questions instead of putting you in the hot seat when it's not even your case.
Your Honor, if I may.
No, Mr. Branscombe. I will talk to you later.
Mr. Regier, if you're just the messenger in all of this, then I am sorry that you're the one taking the heat for it. But the attorney that's doing all this needs to be accountable and explain why the state is not concerned about him and this woman having this situation in the alley while he's on bond with no contact, and why she's not concerned about TFI, a governmental agency, again, taking messages back and forth between them. And I'm also afraid to turn him loose from so-called treatment. And I say so-called because I don't know what he's doing, why he's there. I don't know if he's there to really get treatment or if he's just hiding from his obligations in court. But I better have a full-blown account of why he's in treatment at the appropriate time and what the results are. And you know, this is a domestic violence case.
Judge, we will have a discharge report that will go through his treatment. Also, he is getting a BIP assessment, and Holland Pathways is arranging that for him so he can start on his BIP program also. We'll have that assessment for the court at the time of sentencing.
Well, there is something very, very odd, wrong, something going on here that, Mr. Regier, I hope you can convince your colleague to figure it out and explain why these oddities are taking place. Maybe TFI, is it TFI that's doing or it's not DCF, it's their contractor, TFI.
TFI is in charge of the children, Judge.
And they're the ones going back and forth between the parents, telling them what this one wants and what this one wants. And
Judge, I don't know that I would say it like that. I think they're just keeping both parents informed of what's going on in the case.
well, the record will speak for itself, what's been said and not said, so we can always review that and make sure we get it right, what they have been doing. But he seems to know, well, anyway, I'm not going to keep belaboring, we've got too many cases. Boy, I don't think I can, you're going to have electronic monitoring, well, I just don't think I can trust you on bond, but the state seems to think they can. I'm not sure I can trust the state at this point, whoever is responsible for the state, because the TFI is a contractor of the state. The prosecutor represents the state. And something is grossly amiss in this case. But that's your court date. I gave it to you. That's September 22nd.
Yes, Judge.
And you better have absolutely no contact directly or indirectly with her, Mr. Branscombe.
Yes, Your Honor.
I may have to file my own motion to revoke your bond if the state won't do it. And if the state's aiding in it.
I will definitely do what you tell me to do, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Regier, I hope you will advise TFI about their obligations to honor a bond and not to aid in violating it. All right, enough said. We're adjourned on this matter. Did we ever get Mr. Burnson resolved?
We did do Bernston, Judge. He was at the courthouse.
And we got that one done. All right. The warrant to show cause Scott Moore, we got that worked out, right? We're checking him off the list. Neil Allen, did we get him squared away?
Yes, Your
He
Honor.
was at the courthouse. I'm evidently working from two different lists here, so let me get myself back. Orrin Copeland. On the record in 2025 CR 102, State of Kansas versus Orrin Matthews Copeland, Darren Patterson for the state. Mr. Copeland appears, let me start that over again. Jared Regier for the state, Darren Patterson for the defendant, Orrin Copeland, who I believe is present. You're Orrin Copeland?
Yes, that's correct.
Orrin Matthews Copeland?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Patterson, how does your client wish to proceed?
Thank you, Judge. I have met with my client, would tell the court that following that, I would tell the court that there is an application for diversion being submitted and would ask the court to continue this case to a subsequent court date so that we can finish the diversion application, or I guess diversion agreement.
All right. Mr. Regier, any objection to setting this over to that September 22nd for the defendant to pursue diversion?
Your Honor, I do appear to have a note in my file that would appear to indicate that a diversion application was.
I always like the name Oren. Sorry to go so random on you guys. I'll put a note in the description in case you watch this later that everything is random after those first two cases. Webster's mishearing things today, and I think she's overstepping a little bit. It's not completely uncommon for Judge Webster to do so. I think I'm just hanging on to court right now to find out what's going on with. Let's give Lisa Kirkpatrick one more try, and then I'll probably cut the stream off, and then we'll play some videos later.
One moment, Your Honor. That appears to be filed by one of my colleagues. I cannot speak to the specifics, but at least at this juncture, the state is joining in the request that this be set over for plea and sentencing purposes.
What's your monthly income from retirement?
$11.56.
2024 CR 413 State versus Wyatt Quinn Griggs. Darren Patterson for the
She's getting
defendant.
skipped over again.
Wyatt
Okay.
Quinn Griggs, who also
Let's
appears
just hear the
personally, and
beginning of
Jared
Griggs.
Regier for the state. Mr. Patterson.
And Judge, I would start off by asking Mr. Regier if what is being requested is acceptable, and I think this is the same thing that was requested previously, but
It sounds
I
like
just
it
wanted
should
to
be.
find out from Mr. Regier first.
And was it a $100 fine on count 3?
On that, would announce this time, Mr. Holloway will be entering plea of guilty to the sole charge, driving while suspended Class A.
To 6 months in the county
And
jail.
she skipped over again.
Probation reporting.
Yes.
Oh, and skipped
and
over
is anyone
again.
making you waive your right to hearing and enter these agreements?
And she's
No.
pleading guilty.
And I
Case where the court is not bound by the diversion agreement, which I think the court knows. And because of that, we're asking the court to consider on count 2 a fine of $100.
You hear me, Your Honor?
You're still pretty choppy,
We
but
got her,
let's
but she
try to
didn't move.
proceed.
This is on her now, by far.
Jared Regier for the state, Ms. Kirkpatrick again in person and pro se. And we are here on driving while suspended. Are you going to have an attorney on this, Ms. Kirkpatrick?
No, Your Honor.
Wish to. Well, let me remind you that you can hire an attorney, and you told me in April that you were going to. But if you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can apply and see if you qualify for court appointed. Knowing that, you still wish to waive your right and represent yourself?
No, ma'am. Could I please apply for court appointed?
All right. Where do you work?
Dillon's.
And how much do you get paid per month at Dillon's?
Sorry, I'm trying to do some math in my head because we get paid weekly.
Are you in El Dorado?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, come down to the courthouse, get an application for court-appointed attorney, fill that out, and it will get back to me. In the meantime, I'm going to set your hearing for September 22nd at 9 a.m. You must be here by Zoom, September 22nd, 9 a.m. But you need to get that application in the next, sometime today, and then get that call back in a couple of days to find out who your attorney is if you have one.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
Your
You'll be continued on bond until then. This continuance is at your request, Mr. Regier.
Your Honor, there is one final matter.
Yes,
Your Honor, it would appear that at the last hearing, the court did make certain orders concerning booking and bond. That was about 2.5 months ago. I do appear to have an affidavit from the jail that would appear to indicate that as of June 23rd, 2025, the defendant failed to report to the Butler County Detention Facility as directed by the court to be processed and released.
so you don't have to comply with court orders?
Your Honor, I ended up working a double shift that day. And then the next day I forgot to go in or make another appointment.
Understand, these appointments, in quotation marks, are court orders.
And you failed to go in every other day since then, in between then and your next hearing, which was today.
Mr. Regier, what was her bond set at?
Based off my notes, in response to the court's inquiry, Your Honor, it would appear the court did give the defendant the benefit of a $1,000 own recognizance bond at the last setting.
Court security?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna give her one last chance to get down there. And
Okay,
if she works a double or forgets, she'll be arrested.
okay. I could
No.
probably just take care of this right now. I'm gonna give her a phone number to call and schedule it herself. If she fails to, we'll just arrest her. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, write down this number. Area code 316-322-4160. Ask for Amanda. She should have your paperwork already.
I'm still hanging in there. You doing all right, Judge?
Should we try
Yeah,
one more?
thank you for asking. I think we only have
I mean,
a
he's got
couple more, and then
sideburns.
we'll Greenwood, Butler County, and I'm sure you have plenty over there too.
May I request a brief breakout room with counsel for the defense?
Oh, yeah. He's a fun one.
How do you plead to count 2, driving without proof of liability insurance?
Guilty, Your Honor.
How do you plead to driving with?
Well, we started off good. And then we went nowhere. I had hope. We saw some good Regier. We saw some grumpy Webster. I'll drop something in the description saying to avoid the whole second half of that stream, if not more. Unless you just want to see what happened in Butler County today. That was the first half of her docket, and I think it kind of rolled over into the second half just a little bit. I'm gonna stream some videos later. You know, I'll keep my eye on court. I'll get a little more specific if I find some better court, but I'm definitely gonna avoid Butler County for the rest of the day unless I find. I know I've got some sovereign citizens that are supposed to appear with Judge Webster in Butler County. I don't think they're until early mid-August. But I've got them on my calendar marked, so I'll stay up on those. And then I've got some trolling that I need to post for you guys, and then a whole bunch of body cams. So enjoy your Monday. I'll see you probably later today.